Yeah.
Good afternoon, Craig. I hope you're feeling all right.
Yeah, not great if I'm perfectly honest, and I'm still having to do various school drop-offs and pickups, which doesn't make life easier. But yeah, I'm not laid up in bed, but I'm certainly not on tip-top form. So apologies for the late notice. I only really tested positive sort of yesterday afternoon, so it's been a bit fraught since then.
Just to make it clear for anybody who may be watching on or watching this back on YouTube, the time has gone 4:30. However, we're unable at this point to start the meeting as we are not quorate. Quoracy for a council meeting is 3 persons. The clerk does not qualify as one of those persons, and the if anybody's looking at it, seeing 3 people, and unfortunately attendance via Zoom legally cannot constitute attendance in the room either. So at this point in time, we are not quorate. Our standing orders require us to wait for 15 minutes. At the end of that period, if we remain in quorate, the clerk is required to read out the names of the committee to establish who is here and who is not. If we are not here, then the meeting is declared in quorate. You are able to discuss anything you wish to. You are able to have your conversation, but I'm afraid you're not able to make any decisions at all.
That's fine. What about delegated decisions after the meeting?
Yes, delegated decisions can always be made. That's not a problem at all. Not a problem.
There's a way around it.
Always.
Good. Well, I'd like to thank Lee and Craig for coming.
Do you know, I've never been in this position before.
I should say, nor have I.
In 13 years, neither have I.
I've had a few close calls.
13 years, this is embarrassing. Jeez. Any thoughts, Craig?
Well, I think we're going to have to reconvene. Yeah, I just wonder whether we have a discussion on some of the topics to try and make the next session, well, a little bit quicker or maybe more efficient.
No, well, I don't know. We've only got an hour. Which is fine. It was going to be a very quick meeting anyway. I don't tend to hang about with meetings, mate. I tend to be pretty on point if I can help it.
Why don't we go through the agenda as stands? You can't make any decisions, but go through the agenda as you've got.
Yeah.
And you never know. It's possible that another member may arrive at the end of the 15 minutes, before 15 minutes is gone. If not, at that point, I do have to declare the meeting is in quorate. But right now, we're still in a waiting position. So you could go ahead with your agenda if you wish.
Well, we'll just start
as far
with
as you can.
The environment assessment document. Then we'll just, Lee, any thoughts? Did you have a look at it? There's a few things on there that are still left to do and some items to discuss. What from a town council perspective, Julie, what are the ones that would you say that are in amber that let's try and get those into greens?
That's the one thing I don't think I brought downstairs with me.
Oh, don't worry. So the first one is communicate how to reduce, opt-in scheme for printer credits, reduce amount of ink and paper and handing out. And paper when handing out, I think. Hold on, I can't understand this. Level 3. What's that to do there?
Goodness me. Okay, what's that one? Right, it's the very top one. Well, not the very top, the very first one waiting to be done. So an opt-in scheme for printer credits, reduce amount of ink and paper when handing out. Yeah, okay, well, we're not obviously doing an awful lot of handing out anymore anyway. Okay, with everyone who has the availability, they now need special request need for printing supplies. Okay.
What actually gets printed at the moment, Julie? Because
very little.
You know,
very
yeah.
little. What this would be suggesting, and I feel myself not looked at the detail of this. What this is suggesting is that we opt into a scheme with which basically means that we can't just go ahead and order printing supplies, reorder paper, reorder printing cartridges. We've got to go through a formalised process, and it does say here one of the concerns might be that this often only works in large organisation where only certain types of documents are printed. Well, we really don't print very much at all. We print the minutes, and we print the agenda for day book, and then for official records. So they all go for official records, as well as a hard copy if someone's coming to a meeting. So I always have a hard copy of the minutes with me. We know, sorry, not the minutes, the agenda. We never ever print for extra copies for the public. It says very clearly on the agenda we don't do that anymore. We stopped it with COVID, and now as a sustainability, we haven't brought it back in. Every now and then a member of the public does ask. If I have time before a meeting, I'll go and run one off, but otherwise we don't do it. If the public asks for it in advance of a meeting, we provide, because it would be wrong not to. But otherwise we don't just provide copies now first. And other than that, we really don't print very much at all. I've printed some copies of a presentation that I had with Southern Sheeting, who were interested in working with us on sustainability project proposals, simply so that Sharon could have a copy of that today. I've got a copy of the leader as well. I've got a couple of other copies, but that's one copy that's going to go into a working. We have a working filing system. So if we're working on it at this point in time, there might be a hard copy. Otherwise, everything is scanned and it gets kept. We don't have, when I first came here, we must have had 30 filing cabinets. We don't anymore. We've got about 6. They've got the things in that really it's just too cumbersome to now print those, to scan those in. But otherwise, everything's been scanned and everything's been moved away. So the actual printing now is absolutely minimal. We do still print hard copy invoices, so I know that still happens. We do invoice people by emailing them where we can, but not all of our community groups work through email, so those ones still have to have a hard copy. And Alice has a hard copy of the invoices that she uses for people with weddings and things like that, again, because it's signed by everybody, so we have hard copies of those. But again, unless something requires a signature on it, or it's something which is being worked on there and then, we're not printing out. We really aren't. Very, very little gets printed now.
Okay. It sounds like there's not a lot of room for manoeuvre on.
There isn't. I mean, we provide counsellors. I mean, maybe you want to think about this. We provide counsellors with a couple of reams of paper a year if they want them, if they come in and collect them. But if they take more than 2 reams a year, I ask them why, because they shouldn't be printing out a lot. And we allow them to order a couple of printer cartridges a year, black ink, if they are doing printing out. But that's really dropped off. When we first introduced it, we had an awful lot of counsellors who were happy to come and collect their paper and ordered their cartridges. But I have to say, as we've moved into this new administration, the last administration, this one, it's really dropped off. Really dropped. And I would hope as we move next year into the tablets, there'll be even less. Yeah. Even less.
Okay, that's good. Well, I think we could probably move that to a green then, shall we? Could we do that?
I think we probably can, because I don't think that, well, certainly in amber. I mean, I'd have to find out exactly how much we produce, but it's not a lot. Not a lot at all.
Yeah, certainly a lot less than what it was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chair, may I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Do we? I just think it would be useful just to sort of put a line under this, just track the number of printer cartridges we use every year, and just see how that moves up and down. I think it sounds like we're doing as much as we can in this, and I suppose it's just about keeping a watching brief. So just knowing the number of printer cartridges we get through, and if we notice any significant change, we can look into it a bit more. Would be sort of my sort of view as to, as I say, put a line under this.
I can do that, no problem.
Yep. the other queries that we've got that needed action on were to do with waste. Not really sure. It's about recycling. Send out information pack by email to catering companies to stress the importance of recycling, include a list of what can be done or what can and can't be recycled. Also have this printed on bins. Alice was assigned that one, but I don't know. This was the benefits, making sure that people aren't wasting recyclables, prevents people from having to go through bins to check each week. I suppose as a council, though, do we? I mean, how much say do we have with this within for sort of catering companies and restaurants and things?
Well, I think that's the point, isn't it? There are things that we can do as a council, such as the things actually with the paper, and then there are things that we can take the lead on, things that we can encourage, things that we can give education around, where we want to move our community forward. One of the options, or one of the perhaps good examples, is the bringing back of the Victorian drinking fountain for refilling water bottles. That's not that doesn't, the council's going to pay for that. That doesn't make the council greener. That encourages the public to think about reusing rather than one-use plastic. And it's the same with that. I mean, we can be writing and encouraging people to do things, think about things. That's as far as it can go. We can't do much more. We have our events here, like East Court Live, and as Lee well knows, where we separate the rubbish from the recycling. It's a dirty job, and people are getting better at it, at making sure things are going into the right bins. Because I think education is something that is in a lot more people's consciousness now.
Yeah.
So we can take those on board. We can push them. We can move those forward. So. Yes, we need to, obviously, once it would have been under Harry, it will be under Sarah when she starts, and it's something she will need to be looking at moving forward. What can we do to move those things forward? And
that ties in with what Mid Sussex require. Would you get the information from Mid Sussex as in a lead on that? Okay, that's good. What about things like the bins at the back of Monsoon, which are a complete eyesore at the St Swithin's?
It's a Mid-Sussex matter.
Yeah.
We have raised, we have pushed, and we have no teeth, so we are ignored. Yeah. And unfortunately, Mid-Sussex don't have an answer. We've I think before your time, Chair, we've walked the town. We've identified areas that we want to see tidied up, usually from a tourism point of view, hat on, if you like. It's always those bins, the ones behind St Swithin's, and then the ones on the other side of Middle Row as well, always there. And there's talk about bin stores, there's talk about other ways of being able to collect rubbish, and nothing ever happens. I think it's just too much money and too difficult. It's in the too difficult drawer, and I understand the problem, but it doesn't improve the aesthetic of our town at all. No, okay. Okay, so I think moving forward, then we can look at providing an information pack for businesses in town to reinforce that recycling message that's going through with from Mid Sussex. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Chair, it is now 2:45. We have taken, so I do formally declare that this is an in-court meeting, and therefore the meeting itself cannot continue.
Okay, that's fine.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Julie.
Yeah, so you're very welcome to sit and talk about things, but that's all you can do. Which means that I will stop recording, because that is the end of the meeting. Yeah, I can find the button.